First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not splitting my inheritance with my step-family? Female 21. I've had a pretty horrible childhood. My dad was a junkie when I was born, and when I was 3, he just packed up and left my mom and me. My older half-sister, different dads, was not a pleasant person to be around, and my mom was so busy working that I felt that I was really alone. When my mom died in 2011, my grandma took me in and things got a lot better. Don't get me wrong, I miss my mom every day, but my grandma provided a much healthier environment for me. My dad contacted my grandma in 2018 because he wanted to get in touch with me, but I shut that down. I wouldn't even see him, wouldn't talk to him or anything. Well, it turns out that he had turned his life around, gotten married and had a whole new family, but never had any other kids. He wanted to get to know me because he found out he had a stage 5 pancreatic cancer, but I didn't want anything to do with him. I never contacted him back. Long story short, he died 6 months ago. I only found out recently because my stepmother contacted me about inheritance. My dad had left everything to me. It's not a life-changing amount, and by not a life-changing amount, I mean that I'm still on the same track I was about. I'm still going in college for the same degree, just debt-free. I'm still planning on buying the same house and investment properties, just with smaller loans. It will improve my life so much, but I'm still going to work and do the same thing I was going to do before. But he made me beneficiary of his life insurance, $100,000. Left me savings, $35,000, and his house, which in this market I could sell for around $400,000. I mean, with this money I could have college paid for, buy a house and some investment properties, and still have a nice nest egg to fall back on in case of hard times. She gave me the contact information for the lawyer handling this estate. The problem is that his wife hadn't ever planned on working again. She had quit her job when she moved in with my dad and hasn't worked in 6 years. She was telling me that it would be wrong to keep all of the money, especially since I never made up with him, and that I needed to split it 4 ways so that she and my siblings could have an equal share. I told her she could pound sand because he abandoned me for years and she got all the best parts of my dad, and all I got was the inheritance, and I hung up. I contacted a lawyer and everything is cut and dry. He left his wife and stepkids $100 each and left everything else to me, but I'm starting to feel bad for his wife. Would I be the a-hole if I did split the money? I mean, my dad never did anything for me, so this last grand gesture is really all I have. Edit. They're living in the house and she's not on the title. I'm planning on hiring a property management company and writing up an official lease. I don't want to make them homeless, and I'm not planning on selling the house right away. But I don't want to make any mistakes and lose the house by having her live in it. Thus, the property management company. I'm going to talk to my grandma on my dad's side and see if I can figure out why my dad left his other family out of the will. Now for the top comments before reading the poster's little update. Not the a-hole. You don't know his wife. You don't owe her anything. If your father left them each $100, he knew what he was doing. That inheritance is yours. Good luck in your future. He left those tiny amounts so they'd never be able to contest the will. He knew what he was doing and did it on purpose. You owe them nothing. Not the a-hole. 100% not the a-hole. Your dad made the decision to leave absolutely everything to you, so he clearly felt you deserved it, / needed it, and they didn't. Feels to me like he was thinking along the same lines as you, realizing he'd shortchanged you on a relationship, so all he could do was leave you an inheritance. Keep the money. It's what your dad wanted. I agree. He probably saw that step-family expected the money and realized he lost his relationship, so he probably tried to put in one last good word to Opie so that he wouldn't seem as horrible. They probably deserved getting 100 each. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. I'm telling you right now, those people will most likely destroy that house. Protect yourself from that in the lease you are writing up. Yeah, I agree that there's a risk of retaliation under the circumstances that is likely not worth it to Opie. I know Opie doesn't want them to be homeless, and they won't be. They'll just live in a different home. That's not Opie's. And now for the update. Okay, wow, I just got off the phone with my grandma. I messaged her on Facebook and she gave me her number. I called her during my break. Apparently, my grandma hates my stepmom. I mean, I don't even know where to start. So I guess my dad wanted to reach out to me a lot sooner than he did, but his wife kept on convincing him not to, because she was saying if he got in touch with anyone from his junkie days, he would relapse. On top of that, they never actually got married. They had a ceremony 6 years ago, but they didn't sign any marriage license because they thought my mom was still alive and that he was married to my mom. She didn't want him to reach out for a divorce because, again, he might have relapsed. And the nail in the coffin, she was almost certainly cheating on him. I don't want to get into all the drama about that whole thing, but the only reason it didn't throw her out is because she got rid of the proof and didn't have any way to confirm it was more the next thing for years. Basically, it was a dysfunctional marriage, and by the end of everything, he didn't have the energy to deal with her, so he just let her be. Personally, what I think is that she never wanted me to be part of their perfect family. If he had reached out to my mom for a divorce, then he'd probably want to reach out to me too. Like I said, I wasn't super privy to information about his life until recently. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help support my brother's family despite that I stole their inheritance? I, 26 male, have been with my girlfriend, 24 female, for 10 years, and we have a 6-year-old son. My parents died when I was young, so my brother, 50 male, we were born far apart, was the one who primarily raised me. My brother was an extremely intelligent man, so he did well in life and was extremely well off. Not a billionaire or anything like that, but still wealthy. A few months ago, my brother passed away. He had an ex-girlfriend, 40 female, they broke up a few years ago, and 3 children, 21 female, 20 female, and a 19 female. I don't know why exactly, but he always disdained his immediate family, not counting me obviously, and before he died, disinherited his 3 children from his will. My brother also had a girlfriend, 25 female, and she was pregnant when he passed away. His unborn child didn't get anything since he wasn't born at the time of his death. Yesterday, my brother's girlfriend, the young one, contacted me asking if I could help support her and her newborn son with some of the inheritance. I thought about it for a few minutes, but ended up telling her no. She accused me of being selfish and went off about how I stole her children and my brother's daughter's money until I hung up. I can see where she's coming from, but I generally don't understand how she and her child are my responsibility. Am I the a-hole? Your brother sounds like he was a major douche. His first 3 kids are grown. However, his new baby on the way is going to have a much harder than necessary life due to your brother's choices. No a-hole's here if you want to hold on to that inheritance. However, that baby is the biggest victim in all of this. Not to mention, the brother's oldest child, 21, was born when he was 29, and his wife was 19, and his new girlfriend was 25 years younger than him. You're the a-hole. While legally you may not have to do anything for this infant child of your brother and his extremely young girlfriend, morally it would be right to share the money with his minor children. Your brother also sounds like an a-hole, but he's dead, so I guess he can be granted his status posthumously. You're the a-hole. She's still pregnant. He probably didn't even have any time to change his will yet. Here's what's going to happen next if the girlfriend is smart. She's going to hire a lawyer who will sue the estate. See, wills are funny. You can explicitly exclude someone, but if there is a reasonable grounds to assume someone was mistakenly not included, like an unborn child for example, then the court has the power to modify the will. That kiddo's gonna get half of their father's estate, and you're a terrible person for wanting to leave the mother of your brother's unborn child destitute. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not funding my sick brother's medical treatment? I know the title sounds bad, but hear me out. I, 27 female, have never been particularly close to my family. My parents, 62 female and 63 male, had always been partial towards my brother Nathan while growing up because he was their sole true heir, and I was like this unlucky pig they got off a claw machine they'd played for a second son. I come from a staunch Christian family that strictly believed in set gender roles while growing up, so much so that I'd be getting knitting needles for Christmas when I was 7, while Natty got 3 to 5 expensive toys that he'd asked for that year. I hated going to church groups and Sunday schools and eventually turned out to be an atheist, much to the chagrin of my parents. I funded my own college and further studies with a loan I'm still repaying to this day, while they had separate college funds for their blue-eyed boy. My father never approved of my career choices because a homely woman is a graceful woman, and he always thought I was silly to pursue a career in science. I'm a physicist, because women aren't good at numbers. I'm terrified of failing at anything in life because I know that'll reinstate their faith in my stupidity. I went no contact with their lot 2 years back when they tried to pressure me to marry a random man from our hometown because apparently he could recommend my brother, 31 male, to a job position he was vying for while trying to package it as, "Okay, lassie, you had your little fun and games, now it's time to settle down and be a responsible adult." Then on, I've talked to my mom over the phone a couple of times during the holidays, but that was about it. Last month, my mother rang to tell me that my brother has been diagnosed with leukemia and they need me to fund his medical care. I had started saving up for a house, and she told me she knows about my little nest egg, but I do not need it because some man will provide for me eventually. I flat out refused and told her they could get themselves a loan if they're so hard on cash. But this tiny lump sum has taken me almost 4 years together, and I can't jeopardize my future for this. Since then, I'm getting calls and texts from most of my extended family telling me how much of a selfish a-hole I am, how it's my duty to my brother and my family to stand beside them. My father yelled at me over the phone, calling me an ungrateful little witch who abandoned them at the mere sight of greener shores. I'm having second thoughts as to if I really am quite a gigantic prick for not footing my brother's medical bills since I have the money for it. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I know I haven't mentioned as much about my brother here as I should have, and I apologize for that. As I mentioned in my comments, he was a bully growing up, aided by the disinterest from my parents who always chose to look the other way, but as an adult, he actually made an effort to mend his relationship with me. We don't speak a lot, but I do talk to my brother way more than I do to my parents. I'm quite apprehensive of the kind of medical assistance is going to get in these times, and I'm prepared to help out whichever way I can bearing the money. I, as a person, am excessively insecure and paranoid about my future money situations, and I don't think I can put that up for a toss for anything at all. Certain points to clear this off further. 1. My mother knows about my savings from my brother, who knows how much I craved having a place of my own, and because I've quite often discussed how excited I am when I eventually will. He once jokingly called me a control freak, which maybe I am a little, because I do want to have a place where I can do things my way without being judged or controlled. 2. My brother has been out of his job for close to 3 years now. I'm from the UK, so we do have NHS, but I'm not sure if it covers aftercare. My parents didn't provide a breakup for the money they need. They automatically assumed all of the family would chip in with whatever hard cash they could spare. And that includes my life savings, because of course, how can anyone prioritize a tiny loft over her brother's life? 3. I do think my brother expects complete submission of my assets to his healthcare because he hasn't spoken to me since my mother's phone call. He had admitted previously that he'd treated me badly growing up, but I don't think he considers himself treated better than he deserved by my parents, just that I was mistreated. At this point, misogyny is so deeply ingrained in him, especially since it's always got him to be on the fatter side of it. I don't think I could change his perspective. My parents mingle in a circle of people with similar outlooks, and they've never tried to hide in public their strict Christian upbringing of their children, where girls are taught to be docile and unquestioning. Now for the top comments. If they're so Christian, then they can all empty their life savings to help him instead of asking you. Who knows? Maybe all he needs is someone to pray the leukemia away. Thoughts and prayers. Not a-hole. Your family sounds like someone has created a misogynist cartoon show. Women aren't good at numbers. I was half expecting a joke about the physics of sandwiches. Regardless, it's your money, so your choice. It's as simple as that. Thank you. I'm sick and tired of hearing that stupid outdated crap all the time. Just tell them surely with their collective power how much money they would all be able to raise if they sold their houses. Not a-hole. It's sad about your brother and your family, but this is your future nest egg. In a traditional household, doesn't the son usually inherit the most anyway? So they can give him his inheritance early if needs be. This is not on you. My parents are unashamedly house proud, so I doubt they'd go to the mortgage route. I'll pass along the early inheritance proposal surely though, as soon as they start speaking to me again. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for selling my daughter's car and putting the money towards her best friend's education? My daughter Sarah was suffering from a chronic condition. She suffered a lot of and missed out on a lot of things. As her only parent, her dad's deceased, I had to work hard to ensure she was happy and as healthy as possible. She had one best friend that she always called her sister, and she was with her during middle school. Quickly became close, and Sarah's friend was constantly there, in the good and in the bad. She did Sarah's homework, cleaned her room for her, even cooked for us when we got from the hospital in the evening. I knew Sarah's friend was the sister she needed. They have a lot of pictures together. After Sarah's funeral, her best friend asked me to help her hang their pictures on the wall. It got to me because although it was hard, but it brought me joy. It felt like Sarah's friend was like a member of the family. Sarah was 17 when she passed away. Last month would have been her 18th birthday. No one showed up, although I got on the phone with my brother and we both cried. Sarah's friend made a cake and brought a photo album she made herself. It was simple, but it was wholesome. I just sold the car I was planning on gifting to Sarah on her 18th birthday. And I contacted Sarah's friend's parents and gave them the $8,000 as my contribution towards her education. They were thankful for it and very appreciative. Yesterday, my brother mentioned not seeing the car, so I told him that I sold it and what I did with the money. And he started throwing a tantrum, saying I shouldn't have done it, and said that I'm not thinking rationally and acting out of emotions because he thought that the car was going to my younger brother, who walks 30 minutes to university and work every day. He said I should have thought of my brother and that he was struggling. We got into an argument and I couldn't do it anymore. My mother agreed that I shouldn't have done it and that my brother was right. I felt bad and I couldn't talk to him after this argument. Not at A-Hall. Looking at it from the most brutal angle, I can come up with, on short notice, you still, by definition, own the car. As such, you get to make the decision on how to dispense with it. From a softer angle, Sarah and her friend were close, and you opted to honor that closeness. I get the younger brother situation isn't great, but your, I presume, older brother doesn't get to tell you how to do things. If you want a brutal angle, your surviving family's annoyed they weren't able to profit from your daughter's death. Screw him. Didn't even turn up to the funeral either. Didn't even put in the same effort that the cliché greedy grandkids put in when their relatives are ill. I read it as they didn't visit on her birthday rather than the funeral. Still, absolutely not at A-Hall. Not at A-Hall. Did your brothers or your mother pay for any part of this car? Were they willing to buy it for your brother? If the answer is no, you were 100% not an A-Hall. It was 100% your decision what to do with the item you bought. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the A-Hall for kicking my ex out of my son's birthday and throwing out the gift she got for him? My ex and I, 33 male, broke up almost 2 years ago. We had been trying to have kids, but couldn't because of my infertility. It was just very disheartening for me. My ex wanted to keep trying, but it was just too painful. I told her that I wanted to stop for now. Not stop forever, but to give me some time to grieve the fact that I'd never be able to father kids of my own before we looked into other avenues. She didn't want to wait any longer and broke up with me. A couple months later, I had a drunken one-night stand with my son's mother. To my surprise, she got pregnant. And yes, we made sure he was in fact my biological child because I never thought this could ever happen. He was a beautiful miracle. But my son's mother unfortunately passed when he was 4 months old because of issues with COVID. Ever since I've been a single father, my ex has tried to make contact. I don't want to have any contact because my life is different, and there's no place for her anymore. Her biggest advocate has been my sister, because we were together for years and broke up due to the kids' conflict. And apparently now that I have a child, we could make it work. We celebrated my son's first birthday 2 weeks ago. My family and his mom's family were there. My ex found out, and I'm sure through my sister or someone else in my family. She brought a gift for my son, but I didn't even let her come in. We had an argument at the door because she would not leave. My ex was trying to convince me to let her stay so she could meet my son and we can talk about things. I already knew why she wanted to, because she feels like she could take his mom's place on his life, and that's not gonna happen. She eventually did leave, but I was pretty mad at that point. My ex wanted to leave the gift for him. Well, she left it at my door, so I just threw it away. He got plenty of other gifts anyways. Because this happened in front of everyone, my ex and sister think I was the a-hole for humiliating her in front of not just my family, but also my son's mom's family. It would have been less chaotic to have taken her to the side and had a private conversation, so she could have slipped out without anyone noticing. On top of that, she found out I got rid of her gift, which they think I was an a-hole for because that was meant for him, and it didn't give me the right to throw out something that belonged to my son. I'm still bitter towards my ex for how things ended, and seeing her made me react that way. Because it was out of anger and hate for her, I'm wondering if I'm the a-hole for how the whole thing was handled, or was I the right? Now for the top comments. She crashed at a party uninvited. Who gave her the dates and location? Your sister? And then got upset that she was thrown out. Screw that noise. Not the a-hole. You crash a party, you get what's coming to you. She keeps saying it wasn't her. I'm not sure I believe that. My ex and sister think I was the a-hole for humiliating her in front of not just my family, but also my son's mom's family. I would not believe her either, OP. But the fact that you humiliated her in front of your son's mom's family? Would they not feel uncomfortable with a literal stranger coming in and trying to take on a mother role for your son on his first birthday with no notice? I mean, do they honestly think your ex would have been welcomed by them? Not today, home. Your ex is obviously obsessed with you even 2 years later. The birthday party behavior is over the line. You also need to have a serious discussion with your sister and make clear that if she keeps interfering in your life by supporting your ex's not job behavior, you will cut her out of you and your son's lives. Finally, also make it clear to your ex that the stalkerish behavior verging on restraining order territory. If she doesn't stop, get one. She was only this way after finding out they had a baby and his mom was no longer in the picture. Now she feels like we could have what we were trying for before our breakup, which isn't going to happen. I limited how much I talked to my sister when she didn't leave it alone. And the only reason she was invited is because my family told me she's still his aunt, and our conflict shouldn't have to affect the relationship. Well, it's affecting it now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's brother he should reconsider his decision to adopt? My brother-in-law was adopted. He came from what we call a broken home, and it's affected his personality. He always wanted and planned to have kids with his ex-wife, but she turned out abusive, and he was barely able to escape from her with mine and my husband's help. He was devastated and kept saying his future and family ended before it was started, but we assured him he was lucky he didn't have kids with his ex and got out easily. He's now 35, single and lives alone, and has been talking about adoption a lot lately. Yesterday, he visited and brought it up again. I didn't feel he was ready despite saying that he was. I told him he is a product of an affair that ruined 2 families, and that he had a rough and stable childhood that created some serious damages, manifesting in a number of mental health issues that he hasn't worked on. And so I don't think adoption is a good idea, especially given his feelings around that, and he should really reconsider his decision. He looked at me shocked, but I told him not to take this personally because I was just pointing out that it's not fair to subject an innocent child to his mental health issues. In other words, I just don't think he's ready to be anybody's dad. He became quiet all of a sudden, then took his phone and key and said that I was rude and hurtful, then left and shut the door behind him. My husband asked what happened and why his brother left. I told him about the conversation I had with him, and he went off on me saying I messed up, and that this was none of my concern and I just made his brother feel worthless and incapable. I said no, I was just making sure he is ready, but he said I don't get to decide if he's ready or not, and told me I had to call his brother and apologize to him for the rude crap I said, but I declined because I don't think I was wrong for telling the truth as it is. We had an argument, and he isn't speaking to me now. I understand how brother-in-law might have felt, but I was just giving my opinion on this matter and a bit of advice. I told him he is a product of an affair that ruined 2 families. You're the a-hole for that comment and other reasons. He, the baby at a time, did not ruin those 2 families. They'd also stepped out on their marriages and had affairs did. Let's not blame babies for something that they have literally no control over. Agree, Opie's the a-hole. But I don't think Opie's blaming him for ruining the families. Opie said affair that ruined 2 families. Opie said the affair ruined the families, and therefore the brother-in-law has some mental health issues and traumatic childhood being the product of the affair that he should process/get in check before adopting. Fair. I see what you're saying. I just think that is an incredibly cruel thing to say to someone who is going through a mental health crisis. I hope he could have gone about it in a way that expressed their concerns, but also built up brother-in-law, not tear him down. So this is what you sound like. I think you're going to be a lousy father because you come from 2 broken homes, but don't take it personally. Oh, and I wasn't even asked my opinion, but I thought I'd give it anyway. You're the a-hole. Totally agree. Opie opened her big trap and gave her opinion when it wasn't even asked for. Opie seems to think if you come from a broken home, you're a lousy parent. But I assume Opie came from a stable home. Think your parents would be ashamed they raised such a judgmental and rude a-hole. You're the a-hole. I was just giving my opinion on this matter and a bit of advice. If my husband had given this opinion to someone I cared about, I'd divorce him. In a sub full of people being a-holes, that may well be the rudest thing I've ever heard someone say. You can talk about his childhood all you want, but it's clear someone raised you wrong too. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my husband I went into labor? I, 32 female, have 3 kids. Kate, 12 female, Luke, 4 male, and I just gave birth to my beautiful baby girl, Valerie. My husband and I have been married for 5 years and I love him, but he's a little bit of a mama's boy. My mother-in-law hates me. I grew up in a richer neighborhood and my parents left me with quite a lot of inheritance money when they passed, about 13 million in assets. Mother-in-law, however, was a single mother with 2 sons and had a lot of trouble just paying for basic needs. She worked her way up and I think she's very strong. But she doesn't like me and thinks I'm pretentious because apparently I had everything handed to me. Well, when I got pregnant with Luke, we decided to name him after my husband's father who died when my husband was only 3. Mother-in-law was through the roof when we told her. But ever since I fell pregnant again with Valerie, she has been adamant that we would name her Francine after her late grandmother. My husband wants to as well, but I don't. Instead, I wanted to name her Valerie. And not just because I like the name, but also because when I was 17, the song Valerie by Amy Winehouse came out and me and my family would sing it all the time. At family gatherings, it was always first on a speaker. Car rides, and just in general, it was basically our song. Well, my older sister and my parents passed away in a house fire 3 years ago, and I miss them terribly. We were all a very close family, so it hit me and my younger sister, 27, very hard. When I suggested this to my husband and mother-in-law, they actually got mad at me because they wanted it to be Francine. I suggested we name it Valerie with a middle name Francine or Francine with a middle name Valerie, but they weren't happy with either. During my last month of pregnancy, my husband has become more angry at me. I finally snapped and said that I wasn't going to name my child an ugly name that I don't like for the sake of a woman that doesn't even like me. He said that I was being unbelievable and that I had insulted a strong, independent mother. I immediately apologized, but he left to his mother's house. 2 days later, I couldn't reach him at all, and on the 3rd day, I went into labor. Kate kept saying she would text my husband and I told her not to bother her. After hours of labor and awful pain, I gave birth to my baby girl and named her Valerie with Diane as the middle name. Diane was my mother's name. Then about 2 hours after I gave birth, my younger sister was able to reach mother-in-law to get the message to my husband. When they came in, my husband was raging and yelling at me, calling me a pretentious backstabbing witch. And my mother-in-law was more upset about the name. I think this might be the end of my marriage, but we can still change her name if we really wanted to. So am I the a-hole? Should I change the name? Now for the comments. One thing I've learned about mama's boys is that they will never, ever, ever choose you over their mom. Get out of this situation. It's better to be on your own than with someone like him. Not stay home. My ex's mom was freaking psychotic. The first time she met my mom, she barely spoke to her. I'm thinking, oh, they're both nurses. Their kids are dating. This'll be great. Nope. She sat there freaking moping the entire time and sipping her 5th drink. Should make him leave my place at 3 in the morning and drive 40 minutes to her house because she wanted a bag of chips and didn't want to get out of bed. And you know what? He did it. I should have left then. Not stay home. You chose Valerie in honor of your tragically killed parents and sister. How in holy hell does he think that less important than commemorating his great-grandmother, whom he probably never knew? You're financially independent, so this should indeed be the end of your marriage. You don't want your children growing up thinking it's okay to be treated the way you're being treated. All I'm going to say is that your son was named for his relative who passed, so it's only fair your daughter was named for yours. The damage is already done. Keep the name. Sounds like he was trying to guilt and manipulate you anyway. He left and ignored you while you were nearing your due date, and then screams abuse at you. Honey, contact a lawyer and leave. You don't want this man to be involved any more than necessary in your life, trying to strong-arm you into getting his way after you offered compromises. Stay firm on the name. If you cave, you are setting precedent that he will always get his way if he is a bully. Not stay home. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my sister's boyfriend to meet my son? My 26 female sister, 28 female, began dating a guy in November of 2021. I'm not sure exactly how they met, but I gave her a name at first that wasn't real. He eventually told her his real first name, Miles, and a couple weeks later gave her his real last name. I thought this was sketchy, but it's not my business and I figure I can just keep my distance. 2 weeks after they met, Thanksgiving rolls around and I'm hosting it at my house. She tells me she's bringing Miles to Thanksgiving. Doesn't ask, just tells me. I was like, I don't know. I really don't want the first time I meet this guy to be at my house. I bring up the name change thing, but she's upset with me anyways. My mom and dad take her side and I end up giving in and letting him come. He doesn't do anything too weird at Thanksgiving, but he has a lot of outlandish stories to share. I am nice enough to him anyways. I decide that since my family all seem to like him, that maybe I'm just not giving him a fair shot. I decide to go to lunch with both of them a month or so later. Within 5 minutes, he says to me, "You know your grandpa has dementia, right?" I was shocked. My sister sat there nodding her head, and their evidence was my sister told him something and he forgot and asked a question about it the next day. Mind you, this man is 80 years old, but is in otherwise great shape. He then proceeds to ask me about our family business finances, how much we make each year, just inappropriate questions that are not his business. Last month, I tell my cousins, who also work at family business, the type of increase he was making, and they ban him from the office. He was coming in for hours in the middle of the day. I take my cousin's side, obviously. My dad tells me I need to mind my own freaking business, and my sister is furious with me and avoids me for a while. When we talk again, I basically tell her that I cannot trust her boyfriend and don't want to be around him. And I cite the comment about our grandpa in my explanation. She says to me, "Wow, you're really hung up on the dementia thing, aren't you?" Oh, did I mention I've been pregnant this whole time? Last week, I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. I'm starting to allow close family to come by the house and see him. She texts me and says, "Me and Miles are coming to see baby." I tell her you can come, but he is most definitely not allowed in my house or anywhere near my son. She tells me, "Fine, I'm not coming to see him either." And I respond, "Okay, that's your choice." Now my parents are mad at me for shutting her out and not allowing her to see my son, even though I specifically stated she was welcome on her own. I thought I was in the right, but my parents are just making me feel crazy. Am I the a-hole for drawing this boundary? This endless conflict is starting to wear me down and I'm wondering if I should just give in to keep the peace. What do y'all think? Not the a-hole. What justification has he given for providing fake names? Seems sketchy and way too interested in family wealth. Keep him away from your baby, out of your house, and try to keep records of any sketchy things you hear/see with him. He said his mom is in the FBI and he was protecting her identity. BS. This made me laugh so hard. This is what serial killers say in every true crime podcast or show I've ever seen. And trust me, no one cares about government agents as FBI anymore. I work for the government, and FBI isn't as prestigious as it used to be. In fact, we're all seen as the enemy. Not stay home and reinforce your boundary. Not stay home. Yep, your grandpa's definitely got dementia. I'd mind no medical degree can spot it just that easily. Incidentally, how much did you say he was leaving all of you in the will? And is it cash or property? If your parents are really that desperate to marry your sister off despite all the red flags, or are already all in on whatever business opportunity Miles has pitched to them, that's their issue to deal with. Yours is focusing on your new family, and you set the guest list. Period. I agree. I'm worried about OP's sister's safety if even her own parents are giving this potential grifter a pass on so many flags. Not stay whole OP, but please stick to your guns until you are 100% positive this dude is safe. Keep your family protected.